Hey guys, Dennis and Canoehound Adventures here. Today we're at the day camp and I have a special guest. If you watch the last video, you'll see I brought a friend out to my day camp. We did a little bit of fire building, cooked up some steak, eggs, home fries, things of that sort.
Good times.
Yeah, for sure. Always a good time. You know, I enjoy bringing people out here and showing them things, right?
Sure.
Or teaching them some of the craft, because not a lot of people know how to do this stuff, and you don't know your abilities until you get out, really.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, so tell you a little bit about Dave, and then we'll get Dave to tell you a little bit about Dave. My buddy Dave has a hobby craft, I guess you could call it.
Starting the business slowly.
Forging.
Yep.
He's a forger. Forger, is that the correct term?
Well, I'm a bladesmith.
A bladesmith.
Yeah.
Okay. And his business is named Beastly Ironworks. And Dave approached me just not long after Christmas. He knows I'm into the bushcrafting thing, and he really took an interest. And he came up to me one day and said, "Hey, Dennis, I got to make you a knife." And I kind of looked at him dumbfounded. I knew he did forgings and stuff like that because he'd shown me some of his past projects. And after talking a bit, like, who am I to say, "No, man, I don't want you to make me a knife"? I was like, oh, wow, this guy wants to make me a knife. I'm honored because, you know, these things are pretty cool. So I'm going to show you some clippets throughout this of the process of him making the knife throughout the whole video. But what Dave and I did is, first he asked me, he says, what to you would be an ideal perfect knife?
Yep.
Right? Because you know, obviously, the things that you can actually do to make a knife suitable for a person.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So we sat down and we discussed steel, we discussed profiles, we discussed all different types of things that had to do with the bushcrafting knife. Something that I wanted that some of my other knives don't do. And basically what I've got so far is a knife that encompasses a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
We discussed thickness of steel.
Yep.
We discussed different grinds, how deep we wanted the bevel of the grinds. The only thing I didn't know about with this knife, pretty much, through the build, was what he was going to use for scales. And man, he knocked it out of the park. I'm a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. Like, I even got Toronto Maple Leaf colors here. So
I tried not to think about that when I was grinding it. Canadian fan.
Canadian fan. Oh man.
Sorry, dude.
I'm glad it's not a red, blue, and white.
I thought about
scales.
it just to stick it to you.
So with this knife, like I say, we discussed a lot of things. We really wanted it to be fine-tuned. You know, being in the bush, I want to be able to baton with this thing, be able to do feather sticks, and I really wanted this thing to be able to hack wood. Not always are you in a situation where you have a saw and an axe at your disposal. If you've got to take down a small limb or something. And with this knife here, as you'll see in the video, it goes through small limbs and branches quite readily, and that has to do a lot with the knob on the end here, being able to grip it and actually get a good chop going. I got to put a lanyard on it, so just for safety's sake, so that this thing, if it flies out of my hand, it's not going to go and take out Molly or anything like that. So
Poor baby.
I'm going to let Dave tell you a bit about the knife. Who better to explain what's on the knife and how it's done than the guy who actually forged this thing by hand, swinging a hammer with a lot of heat and things of that sort. Before I get to that, you're going to look at this knife, and I'll get some nice close-ups of it, but you're going to see it's got a rough finish on it. He's done some, well, I'll let you explain that, but I wanted this rough finish. I wanted a knife that had some patina. I wanted something that was going to look like an old school knife. And man, yeah, exactly. And you know what, Dave, you really knocked it out of the park with this. So I'm going to hand the knife over to David, and I'm going to get a little more zoomed in on Dave because I want Dave to tell you what he has done with this thing. Okay, so Dave, first let's talk about the steel.
It's 5160, and which is a spring steel, so it'll definitely take a beating. And that's what I figured that you would need out here, whether you were doing anything from pine right up to a hard maple or walnut or something like that. So I wanted to provide a steel that I know for sure would take a beating and that has less of a chance of breaking the blade, whether you're batoning with a piece of hardwood through a piece of hardwood or whatever. So it's got a lot of elasticity in the steel.
So would it be safe to say if I was 3/4 away through a piece of wood and I wanted to like give it a little twist like that, it'll put up with it?
Absolutely.
Because I've got another knife, I did that and it rolled the edge completely.
Yeah, no,
and that's what you don't want when you're out in the field, is actually having your knife fail you.
Yeah, exactly. So so the 5160 provides a lot of different attributes to why I picked the steel. Like I say, it's extremely flexible. 5160 you can find on the back of your truck. Actually, the leaf springs are 5160.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
So
did you know that? Put that in the comment box if you knew that.
Actually, the leaf springs are actually really good for making knives and swords. Good cutting power. They keep a nice edge. It's very forgiving as far as quenching. The only thing that you don't want to do with 5160 is quench it in water, because it'll crack it right away.
Right, got it.
It makes it very brittle, too hard.
So now the billet itself, this wasn't a piece of flat stock, was it? This is something you actually, like, how did the steel start out?
Well, the steel started out much thicker than this. It was actually, I think, almost
Don't be afraid to
3/4.
speak up there so they can hear you too.
I think it was close to 3/4 of an inch thick when I started this, and the steel was only, I believe, 8 inches long, I think. And yeah, so like I say, I just, through meeting with you and what we were doing and how you wanted it, and the different things that you were looking for, you know, it's one of the first times that I told the steel what it needed to do, opposed to, you know, how it just wanted to move all by itself, right?
Cool. And then now when we were going through the planning process of this here, Dave brought over he brought over actually the knife, the billet after he had it, and then we started discussing the grinds on the blade. So tell me about this grind.
Well, the grind, we talked about a 3/4 inch scanty grind, which actually didn't end up happening, because the more that I thought about how you're batoning, and the more I thought about you wanted to use it to chop, and the more I thought about, you know, with your feather sticking and whatnot, I decided to put a slight little convex grind on it, just so it would keep an edge longer, and it's a lot thicker here opposed to a scanty grind. Scanty grind, it'd be a lot thinner through here, you know, and I don't want your edge rolling on a piece of hardwood, or let's just say you slipped and you hit a stone, right? This kind of grind would be much more forgiving on this edge, opposed to, you know, scanty, where it's going to be like paper thin across this edge.
Right.
So that's why I kind of gave it just a slight little bevel in it.
Bevel.
Yeah, and as far as your batoning, it helps split the wood a lot easier.
And what about the point? This is called a drop point. Can you show them there?
Yeah, this it's a drop point.
Does that curve that comes down?
Yeah, the drop point, as long as the point is basically in the middle of the blade, I figure that's what a drop point is.
Does that give it better balance too?
No.
No?
No, this is all basically just preference. I don't really like to have the point at the top of the knife, because really honestly, you're not really using that part of the blade a whole lot, so you actually lose functionality as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I have a XXX knife, and it has that straight, and I don't mind it, but I wanted something different. If I wanted another straight edge blade, or then I would have asked for another straight edge blade.
Yep.
This here encompasses, I think, the best of both worlds. The one thing that I really like, and Dave took this on himself to do this, because like I say, he wanted it to be kind of a surprise for me. It was pretty hush-hush when he was actually building this thing for me, thanks.
That was hard.
Had me for a month and a half, it's like, how's the knife coming? How's the knife coming? I want to see it. So he kept teasing me with little pictures and stuff. But the one detail he put into it, if you could show him the back of the tang, he's actually got some beautiful file work that he put in there.
Jimping.
Jimping?
Jimping. Yep,
Jimping. What do I know? I'm not a knife maker, but yeah, he's got all the cool detail. It almost looks like the way you've done that, it almost looks like a gator pattern or something. Right? I don't know if there's a name for it.
No, there's you just get an idea in your head. You lay some marks down that are measured out, and you start filing.
Right. And then, of course, the 90 degree for using my ferro rod for striking.
Yep.
I still tend to use a scraper when I'm doing a ferro rod, just because it's a tool that's made for it. It'll prevent any accidents.
That is good.
Feeding
That's
Dave
good.
a couple Get It the Fuck Indias. It's an IPA ale from Cayman Kettle, which is in Fond Hill, Ontario. Great little brewery, little eatery place.
That is good.
Okay, so I'll go on the record to say that I asked him one thing that I did want on here too was actually the lanyard holes. A lot of knives will come with one lanyard hole. I wanted two. Not that I'll probably ever use it, but if I ever needed to tie this thing into a spear or something like that, then that gives me 2 points to actually tie onto a stick.
Sure. Yep.
Right? So will I ever use it? Probably not, but you'll never know, right?
Well, it's definitely got the blade profile to use as a spear.
Use as a spear for sure. Tell everybody about Rob at True North Micarta and what you got for handles or for scales.
I cannot thank Rob enough for these scales. You should all check him out on Instagram. It's at True North Micarta, and
I'll put the link in the description.
thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, very down to earth guy. I was the first one to actually visit his shop, and he didn't hold nothing back. He took me right through the whole process of what he did with his with all his different micarta. I'm not going to spoil it, but he makes a lot of really interesting micarta pieces.
I believe he's starting to do wood now too. I've seen
Yes.
on one of his posts that he's starting to.
Yeah, he's starting to do stabilized wood, exotic woods. So yeah, definitely go check him out. I can't thank him enough for taking me through his processes and letting me come down, because to be honest, when I went down there to meet Rob, I didn't actually know what I was going to get. I didn't know if I was going to come up with something, you know, really cool, or if he was going to make me something right on the spot, and then I'd have to go back and pick it up later. I have no idea, but I just saw these here, and he actually posted these exact scales on the Instagram before, and when I saw them sitting on the shelf and nobody had bought them yet, I thought, wow.
And I found him. I found his post there. I go,
Oh, did
that's
you?
got to be them. And it was
Yeah.
in fact them. So
Yeah. And so as soon as I saw them, I was like, okay, Rob, I think I'm going to go with these. It's just too bad, you know, that there's not a little shade of white in here. That would have been really cool, you know, like for your Toronto Make Me Laughs. But you know, this was like the closest thing that I could find that he had. I should have actually put some G10 scales. I could have done the white in there.
I loved it. You know what? Never mind. Woulda, shoulda, coulda. I absolutely love this.
That would have
knife.
been cool.
I don't think there's anything he could have done to it that would make me more happy. On the note of the scales, he's actually ground these scales to be very ergonomic. If you hold that up, just so that you can see like that Coca-Cola bottle shape. Let's do it this way.
All right.
You see, it got the shape of the Coca-Cola bottle. I've made mention in the last video and in previous videos. I have a problem with one of my fingers. I had an accident there where I almost lost my fingertip, and I can't bend the finger. It will not close anymore. And when Dave first brought me the knife and I was trying to grip on it,
Yeah.
I was getting a bit of an uncomfortable spot along the edge of the scale here. So what I did was I asked him if he can actually do a little taper so that finger will wrap around that a lot better. And he took off ever so slightly, like a little bit on there, and basically what it's done is it's contoured this blade. So this thing fits my hand like, you know what?
Like a glove.
I haven't got a knife, and I've got a few nice knives. I do not have a knife that has as comfortable a grip for me. Now, it might not be suitable for everybody, because obviously everybody's got different mitts. But for me, and he almost like banged it off the first time.
Well,
What I like,
thought.
yeah, well, no, seriously, like you didn't have to do much work, because I like the way, first off, this wide part fits right within the palm of my hand, and it sits in there. It's very comfortable, right? And with that little notch out for my finger, it allows me to close my grip on this knife perfectly. I know Dave is trying to start this up as a small business. I know you've already got inquiries.
Actually, out of this knife and out of my everyday carrier knife, I believe I have 7 or 8 knife orders within 4 days.
Well,
as soon as I posted the 2 of them on Facebook as well as Instagram. So
cool. Well, Molly's barking at something. What, you got a deer in the area, Molly?
Or something.
We got a deer in the area or something?
She's pushing me over.
So, sorry, Molly's hearing something and she's got a little growl going. So if you hear her barking, it's because there might be somebody wandering around the camp, or maybe a deer or a coyote or something. But okay, where was I going? Okay, yeah. So Dave's thinking about launching this as a business or a part-time business. And you know what? This guy's very humble. I have to say, because he made me this knife, and the sheath, of course. The sheath is hanging here. And he also outfitted the sheath so it's going to hold my my Uberleden fatty ferro rod. It's got the dangler attachment to it. He's made it so I can easily get it on and off my belt with a snap system, which he instructed me to make sure I do up both snaps, because he noticed that when I had it on, the second snap hadn't clicked, and that was my fault. But I will learn about that.
It's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
I didn't trust one snap.
But what I'm getting at is, he didn't even put his maker's mark on here. And I told him, I said, Dave, why isn't your maker's mark on here? And he goes, well, I don't know, I didn't think you wanted it on there. And I told him, I said, man, this is number one of hopefully many. And
yeah,
you know what? This here has to, like, it's his maker's mark. And with my print shop, we actually helped him. So he's etched the maker's mark in here. Hopefully it's in here in the camera, you can see it. He's got the anvil with the hammer.
Yep.
And he etched that into there. And man, I'm proud of the fact that you did that. And you know what? I told everybody about this knife, as I'm doing right now here on the YouTube channel. I want everybody to know about this. I'd love to be one of your ambassadors for.
Well, thank you. I appreciate. Actually, I went to your daughter's stag and doe, and oh, hey, he keeps talking about this guy that made him a knife. You know, so thanks. I definitely appreciate the word going around.
Yep.
You know, and yeah, it was definitely a good time, you know, and it was different, you know, atmosphere when people sort of kind of notice something that you've done.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know? So, but very cool though.
While they got you,
Yep.
show them the little knife that you use as your everyday carry.
Actually, here we just.
This guy's always got a knife on him. Kind of dangerous, I would think, eh? And he's got that katana sword that you got's pretty. it scares the crap out of Canoehound for sure. Oh, one thing I got to say about this knife. One thing I got to say about it. It's Canoehound approved, for sure. Just go ahead, show them what you got there.
I got because I like to wear my knife across my back opposed to always being a dangler. So I've made the sheath so I can just wrap it around my belt and go. Or because of my job, I wear a harness a lot, so I can just strap it on my harness and it's readily accessible to me. Or like I say, I can wear it as a dangler. And I made the dangler so when I'm not using it, because I want it to be accessible to me, is I can do it up as a bracelet.
Oh, that is so cool.
So I always have it with me. And again, 5160. I love this steel. It's like I say, it's very, very forgiving during quenches. Holds a real nice edge all the time. And yeah, I kind of sort of did the same thing. I left the patina on it, some scale.
I like that. I like that scale patina. It just makes it look so old school. And that's what I wanted, was a knife that looked like it wasn't a brand new knife off the shelf.
Yep, yep.
Which it's not a brand new knife off the shelf. It's a brand new knife off your forge,
Off
your anvil.
Off my anvil, yeah. Yep. So, but yeah, it's actually I made both knives at the same time. So,
You know, I got to interrupt. Freaks me out when I don't know if you notice back in the video when he's holding it. Rewind it if you have to. But he's sitting here and he's talking, he's running his stomach along the thing. It scared the crap out of me, man. I've already had one injury, and I'm not shooting you the finger, but I had one injury to a finger due to a slice. And yeah, it kind of makes me nervous. I'm one of them guys, I'll do the paper test to see how sharp this thing is, not this stuff here, because
actually,
nah, don't worry about shaving.
No, I already did. That knife there, my hair's already growing back, but yeah, it shaved my arm really nice.
Yeah.
So it was a good test for it.
Maybe I can get it to my wife. She could try shaving her legs with it. Oh.
Wow.
Hi, Cheryl.
Cheryl, I love you. I didn't see it. He did.
Cool, man. So, like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the description below and across the screen here going to put on there Dave's Instagram page, Beastly. Oh, you tell him what it is.
Beastly Ironworks.
Beastly Ironworks.
I believe it's Beastly _ Ironworks.
Yeah, it's Beastly _ Ironworks.
Yeah.
Right. But I'll get it on the screen. I'll put it in the description below. Go on there, check out some of his work. You can see some of his forging works. And maybe Dave will invite me over to the forge one day when he's pounding out some hot steel.
That
And
sounds
maybe
like fun.
that would be cool, and I can get a bit of a video because you know what? It's always cool that guys are doing reviews on their knives and stuff like that. But I wanted to go one further and actually introduce you to the maker. It's not
appreciate
too
it.
often you see that. I mean, you'll see knife makers, but you don't get the concept of somebody actually speaking with their knife maker about making these. So Dave, you know what, man? I am so happy and proud to be wielding this knife.
Well, I'm happy you're happy.
Yeah, I thank you very much. And you know what? If anybody's interested in a cool knife, you could try PMing Dave on Instagram until maybe he gets a YouTube channel going or something. I don't know if that's in the works or not, but you know, you can talk to Dave and he can set you in the right direction. So David, thank you very much, man.
Well, no,
I'm
thank
so
you.
happy with this knife. I just it'll have its place in my collection. Not a big collection, but it'll have its place in my collection, and it's a knife that I will use quite often. You'll see me wielding this bad boy. So anyways, we're just going to sign off of this video. Anything you want to say to Canoehound fans in YouTube land?
Just, you know, get out there and, you know, have a good time. Just do it safe,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, basically, you know, just thank you very much for the invite out and allowing me to, you know, partake in the day. It's been awesome thus far. And thank
Cheers to
you
you,
for
brother.
Get it the fuck in you.
Guys, we're going to sign off for now.
Take care.
So this is Dennis from Canoehound Adventures and David Boyd from Beastly Ironworks
Cheers.
saying talk to you later, and remember, keep the adventures alive.